Okay, my name's Kim and I live in Warrandyte, which is about 25 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. I retired from my day job back in 2000 to become a stay-at-home dad for my boy, and decided if I was going to be a stay-at-home dad, looking after one boy was probably not going to occupy enough of my time, and so I put my hand up to become a foster dad. You can never be there 24/7 with your child. You can no more prevent them than you can prevent a child having a car accident or a scuba diving accident or contracting cancer or any other of the 101 other reasons that cause people to die. Suicide is just one of those. And yes, there are things you can do to try and encourage your children to be positive, to support them and to love them, and that helps in most cases. But occasionally, a range of things happen in combination, and particularly boys are prone to taking action before thought. It's just the way boys are, and they can end their life before they've had a chance to think that through. My son Adam was 21 when he suicided. That was 9.5 years ago, and I think prior to then I'd always thought suicide was something that only happened in dysfunctional families, and would never in my wildest dreams have imagined that striking my family, or particularly my son. He was a very happy young man, the leader of his little group of friends. He loved people, and through a bizarre set of circumstances, he ended his life. The police had called me to tell me there'd been an incident at my home. I came home and my son was missing, and the next morning I went looking for him as to where I thought he might be, and found him. Just completely devastated, just a huge, complete vacuum in my life, and an exhausting year of not being able to sleep, not being able to control my emotions. Even now, 9.5 years later, there can still be occasions when I can be caught unawares. But now, 9.5 years later, I understand why I feel like I do occasionally, and it doesn't distress me as much as it used to. The worst question that you keep beating yourself up with is why, and understand sometimes that there isn't an answer to that, or you have to construct one, which I've done. For Adam, I have a construct on my way that works for me. It's not one that's shared by some others. Others have a different construct that works for them, and that's fine. As a single dad as well, I didn't have anybody to talk with about Adam's death, and there are aspects about that I was keen to talk about but didn't want to. I thought it was all too bad and too confronting to subject anybody to that. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it to be cruel or unkind. That's not the issue. They're frightened. You're taking them to a place they don't know, that is really scary, and they are terrified of saying something that is going to cause you enormous distress. They think that what they've said has caused me to cry, and what in fact has happened is what they've said perhaps has released me and allowed me to cry, and they ought not to feel that guilt. In fact, congratulate yourself. That person trusts you enough to be able to cry and freely display their emotions. But if I'm crying, I'm crying. It doesn't embarrass me anymore. Although I still practice my little techniques to pause when I find myself going down there, and just wait a while and let that mood move on a bit, and then I can continue talking. I would say to people, oh yes, I should see a counsellor, but I couldn't pick up a phone and try and make such an appointment. But about 3 years after Adam died, I was training to be a phone counsellor, and came across an organisation called Compassionate Friends, and I thought, well, if I'm going to be a phone line counsellor, I should probably experiment to see what it's like being counselled. So I found the suicide support group at Compassionate Friends and went along to that, all along telling myself I was only doing this out of professional and academic interest. Parked my car, and as I got out to go to the room, found myself a complete blubbering mess. And then when I joined the group, again, it was a complete blubbering mess at that first session. And I guess what that all was me finally finding a bunch of people with whom I could safely talk about stuff associated with Adam's death. Being with other parents bereaved by suicide is especially helpful because there's a level of mutual trust there. You know, they can't harm me and I can't harm them because we mutually have an unbearable secret to share, and we do share it. And once you've shared that, there isn't anything any more intimate that you can share, I think, than the loss of your child. You know, on the anniversary of his death, I know that's coming up, so I prepare for that, and I have a standard set of routines I follow religiously for every anniversary, and I do that because I know those routines keep me safe. No outside engagements. That day's just for me. Slow cooked meal in the oven because he died on the 15th of July, so it's cold and wet and miserable. And then I pop down to the cemetery about 3 o'clock and with my thermos now, and I sit with him till the sun has set. And then I return home, we have our meal, and then I have a candle I have for the night. And it's funny, talking about it makes me upset, but on the day, I'm not upset because it's a routine, and I can prepare for it, and it's something I do, it's routine. But it sounds mechanical when you describe it, but just having that candle that is burning safely on a bedside table during the night when I go to bed, it's just a reassuring thing for me. And in the morning, I think, thank God for that, that's another anniversary behind me. There were aspects to Adam's death that were particularly traumatic, and even now I would not talk about those with other people, but wanted desperately to share those with someone. And the man that was running the suicide support group at the time said, well, diaries are a great way of doing things. So I'm not one for diaries, but I am a great one for computers. So I just sat at my computer and typed out everything without holding anything back from the time the phone rang when I got that call from the police, right through to reading the autopsy report and everything in between. And when I'd got all that down, it was great. I'd finally told it to someone. Now, I'd only told it to a computer, that didn't matter. I could type it and I could print it out and I could see it, and I felt I'd expunged, a lot of that from my head. If we could wind the clock back, we would, and we would try and do everything we possibly could, but who knows? You can't do that, and you learn to accept that, he is dead, and he did die, and there's nothing any of us can do to undo that. So we don't shy away or hide him in a cupboard. He's still very much part of our fabric of our family. He's not physically with us, but he's still part of our family experience. He's still part of that, and he'll always be part of that. His memory of that will be, even though he's not physically there.